Stadium in Tyler Field, home of Shocker Baseball on WSU TV. It will be Central Arkansas and Wichita State. Home and home series concludes. Shockers won 9-6 3 weeks ago, dodging raindrops in Conway. No such problem here tonight. 85 beautiful baseball degrees. A southerly wind will help a right-hand pull hitter this evening and tomorrow night for the Shockers' conclusion to the homestand as well. Speaking of right-hand pull hitters and guys that are hot, Denning, Wichita State with a season-high 15 runs in the Sunday game against the University of Connecticut, and four of the mainstays and veterans in the lineup not only riding hitting streaks, but really three of the four markedly improved from a year ago.
Guys who have taken a huge step forward from their 2017 campaigns. Gunnar Trautwein, most notably, has raised the average more than 100 points. And Luke Ritter, who has been on an absolute tear. His batting average was in the low 160s, has climbed all the way up to 300. He had a monster game in that Sunday finale against UConn, including the 3-run double that kind of put that one away. But it's those four bats, and that they're at different points in the batting order as well. Of course, you got Ritter and Boehm near the top, Trautwein in the middle, and the last guy we wanted to highlight is Jordan Boyer, who's been swinging the bat much better down towards the bottom of the order. It's created a very deep and balanced Wichita State lineup that is doing plenty of damage.
And Boyer had seen his average dip into the low 240s, but even he has improved on that, getting it up to 260. Wichita State will depend on a midweek starter that they've kind of stayed with. Denning, they're going for the sixth time with Preston Snavely as he tries to get Wichita State off to a good start on a really busy week.
It's just been a question mark for Wichita State all season long as far as the midweek goes. Snavely's gotten the ball, but you just don't know what you're going to get from him. We saw him at his absolute best against SIU Edwardsville for 5 innings, struck out 80, allowed just the 3 hits and 1 run. But since then, it's been shaky. He's had a hard time commanding his fastball, throwing it for strikes. And if he can just get into the 4th inning, I think Todd Butler and Mike Steele will be very pleased. It's just a situation where you're not quite sure what you're going to get from him.
Just hope that he settles in an early stage of this game. Coming up, we'll have the starting lineups, and we'll throw the first pitch. Bears and Shockers on WSU TV.
Wichita State University is preparing today's students to become tomorrow's leaders. The Shock the World campaign is raising $25 million in private funds for a new home for the W. Frank Barton School on the Innovation Campus. Invest today in tomorrow's business leaders by calling 316-978-4076 or visit www.wichita.edu/shocktheworld.
Shockers and Bears, UCA out of the Southland Conference. Shockers again victorious 3 weeks ago down in Conway in kind of a slugfest. It was a similar weather day to today, warm and very windy, and the wind was blowing out that day too. So we'll see if offenses rule the day here in the finale of this home and home series. Wichita State normally, Denning, airtight defensively, but over the last week or so, frankly, Wichita State's defense has been a little shaky.
Shaky, I think, is kind of a generous way to describe it. Some uncharacteristic mistakes from a unit that had been very solid through the first several weeks of the season, and it's forced Todd Butler to kind of shake things up a little bit. Travis Young getting the start in center field once again. Josh DeBacker is over there in right, and Grayson Genesta, who had been the everyday guy in center field, moves to first base. Noah Croft behind the plate today, but that seems to be more of just a give Gunnar Trautwein a break type of thing. But still, this unit could use a bounce back.
Wichita State has led the all-time series here in this ballpark only 3-2, so the meetings have kind of been few and far between, but this is a Central Arkansas team that pretty steady offensively. They are probably as hot as they've been all year. Statistically, they are. They are riding a 5-game winning streak, and that's the highest that they've had so far this year. They are missing a pretty big guy from it as far as an offensive standpoint. Josh Somdesurf is not in the lineup. He's normally their shortstop. Christian Brasher is replacing him. He'll bat 7th against right-hander Preston Snavely. Snavely finishing his warm-up tosses. The big right-hander from Colorado. Again, as we mentioned in the last segment, Denning looking for a bounce-back outing, but relative to that SIU Edwardsville outing, I think Wichita State's coaches would take somewhere in between that and, frankly, the last 5 starts. He's really battled his command. He hasn't been able to consistently throw strikes.
And that SIU Edwardsville game, I think, has caused so much frustration because it's shown the type of pitcher that he can be. Aggressive, in the strike zone, attacking hitters, letting his natural stuff kind of play up. And ever since that outing, he's had a hard time replicating it or really coming anywhere close. I think this Wichita State coaching staff is just looking for a guy who's going to be confident in who he is and able to put together a good start here this afternoon.
Well, apparently in an effort to kind of simplify everything, he's going with an abbreviated windup, and the first pitch is just out of the strike zone, 1 ball and no strikes. So we'll see how it goes for Preston Snavely here this evening. Hunter Strong is statistically their best hitter. Ones that are everyday players anyway. Colby LeBlanc, who we'll see a little bit later, has a better batting average, but this is a dangerous guy at the top of the order that you absolutely want to get ahead of. And Preston Snavely has fallen behind, and now he pours one in there. 2-1.
Yeah, this is definitely a different kind of windup than we've seen from Preston Snavely earlier this year. Almost looks like he's working out of the stretch, but you do see that lead leg does take a step backwards before he kicks plateward, so it is still a windup, but an abbreviated one at that.
Good off-speed pitch, just missed downstairs, 3-1. So it'll be Strong, Presley, and Smith for UCA. Wind howling out to left. Really the best weather day that we've had maybe all year long, with the temperature into the low 80s. Good pitch on 3-1. Tied up Strong, and 4-3 is how we start here on WSU TV. 1 away.
Pretty good example of what Preston Snavely can be. He has the sink and natural run on his fastball where even in the 3-1 count, when everyone knows what's coming, he can still get in your kitchen a little bit. He throws hard and has good movement.
Well, he is, let's see here, 6'5", so you got that going for you. You're standing on top of a mound, and if you get any kind of down angle at all, that's, hitting a round ball with a round bat's arguably the hardest thing to do in sports. So if you can get that down angle like you're talking about and let your natural sink and ability take over, life's going to be pretty good. It's like looking up a side of a mountain when you're facing Preston Snavely.
Plus, he looks the part.
Yep.
He's got the clear glasses on. He's got the big beard. He looks like the kind of guy that you'd want out there. And, of course, the big projectable frame. He hides the ball pretty well. Comes out of a rather short arm slot. Good deception.
That one shot into center field, but Travis Young with a great jump runs it down. It carried out to him, had enough backspin on it, but you could tell that Travis Young was tracking that one all the way. 2 down.
And it doesn't hurt that Travis was definitely shaded a couple steps towards left center field and playing pretty deep. So good advanced scouting by Wichita State. Presley hit it right on the nose, but 2 up and 2 down, and a good start for Preston Snavely.
That'll bring up Tyler Smith. We were talking about the angle and using the mound and using your frame and all that stuff. As long as you stay up on top of the ball and don't start pushing it to home plate, the odds are in your favor with the ball going down anyway. But mechanics aside, I think the issues with Preston Snavely been between the ears. He's got the stuff, and it's not the early season jitters anymore. Just got to have confidence in himself. Good pitch.
A guy who you think at times just needs to let it go a little bit. Be the kind of guy that got him here and was absolutely dominant back in high school in Fort Collins, Colorado, one of the top-rated recruits out of that state. Of course, has excellent just natural arm talent. Fastball that's going to sit in the low 90s. But at times early in your college career when you don't have success immediately, you can start to overthink things a little bit.
He has shown, even though he's fallen behind in the count, when he's thrown predictable pitches, they're still tough to handle.
Yep, that's exactly what I was about to say. A couple 3-1 pitches in this inning. Fastballs for strikes that induced one jam shot ground ball to second and another very late swing.
Now, you don't want to make a habit of it, but that should let you know that your stuff's plenty good. And that changeup wandered off the plate for ball 4, so Tyler Smith draws a walk. And I will say, too, that the ones that Preston Snavely has thrown out of the strike zone have been pretty close. They've been borderline.
And showing some faith there from Mike Steele, calling for a breaking ball on 3-2. I'm not sure if it was the straight changeup or if he was trying to backdoor slider there, but it never did quite get back to the outside corner. That'll be an important pitch for him, though, is the ability to throw something other than a fastball for a strike.
Rigo Aguilar takes a good strike on the outer edge. Aguilar was a red-hot hitter coming into the matchup 3 weeks ago, and the Shockers turned him away 5 times. Noah Croft getting the start behind home plate for the first time in a while. Denning alluded to it earlier. Nothing wrong with Troutwine, but you can't catch him every single game, especially in a 5-game week. One and one to Rigo Aguilar. High strike, 1-2.
Plus, not that Noah had been playing poorly at all, just hadn't gotten many chances to swing it. I think Todd Butler trying to find any way that he can to get Noah's bat in the lineup.
And when you've got the NCAA's equivalent of the comeback player of the year playing at that position, hard to get some at-bats. Snavely wants to make it happen right here with Aguilar. Three and two. So now Tyler Smith will be off the pitch, and Snavely forced to make a quality offering to Rigo Aguilar. And he lost him. Well, this is not exactly what Preston Snavely needs, and by this I mean a tight strike zone. In his 5 starts, he's gone 11 2/3 and walked 11. So he is in dire need of a pitcher-friendly strike zone and hasn't encountered it so far here in the first. And the hope is you stay around the strike zone enough, maybe later on in the game it'll open up for you.
Yeah, that 2-2 pitch was a pretty good example of the kind of offerings he'll need to get called for strikes. Pitches down in the strike zone, and when he starts getting himself into situations where he is pitching from behind, it's going to be a problem.
Colby LeBlanc takes a strike. The fastball has been 90-92, so there's been some life on it. It's been plenty good enough, but just a handful of those borderline pitches not called strikes by Travis Olson. Getting ahead of LeBlanc is a big key here. Now he can throw whatever he wants. And a little half swing, foul ball, nothing in 2. And now you absolutely have LeBlanc eating out of the palm of your hand.
Snavely is a guy who has allowed less than a hit per inning. So you're not really worried about him going out there in the first inning and giving up 3 runs on 6 hits. It's just, is the stuff going to be in the strike zone? Is he going to have good command of it and good confidence out there? It's been kind of a question mark through his midweek starts this year.
Boyer fumbles and everybody's safe. So something that's really plagued Wichita State over the last couple of weeks in this ballpark, well, anywhere really, is the defense has really let them down, and that should have been the 3rd out. That also not ideal behind a pitcher struggling with his confidence.
Absolutely.
Errors behind him.
As a defense, whenever you got a guy who hasn't necessarily carved him up throughout the year, you got to be ready to support him anytime you're called upon. And Boyer maybe got himself an in-between hop there. I wonder, too, if he was caught in between flipping to second for the force or going on to first, and instead didn't take care of step one.
Well, if Vickers was there in time, his momentum was taking him that way, so I'd imagine that was what crossed his mind first. Line foul, so another redeemer for Preston Snavely, who's had to throw a few extra pitches, but as we've gone here in the first, he's routinely gotten ahead of the last handful of batters. See if he can put away Will Hancock. Hancock will strike out a bunch, and Snavely's got him by the throat. See if he bounces one up there to Croft.
Watch over the feather.
Not quite, but good enough. And Snavely, a pick-me-up for himself after a couple of walks and an error.
Wichita State University is Shocker Nation. We exceed expectations, push boundaries, seize opportunities, and move boldly ahead. We are student-centered and innovation-driven. It's who we are. Our vision is simple but powerful. Create, innovate, collaborate, and celebrate. With one unifying purpose: to shock the world.
So far, so good for Preston Snavely as he worked out of a two-out jam in the top of the first. We talked about Wichita State's shaky defense. That's normally not something that Central Arkansas has to worry about. They have only made 26 errors this season through 35 games. Here's the Shocker offense that Wichita State will send against Gavin Stone. We saw Troutwine, or we mentioned Troutwine in the top of the inning, catching most of the games for Wichita State. He'll stay in there and be the DH. Second straight game that Grayson Genesta will play first base instead of center field, and Travis Young coming off a career-high 4-hit game, so obviously not surprising to see him back out there too.
Well, first you absolutely have to have Troutwine's bat in the lineup with the way that he's been swinging. It has been such a great source of power and leadership. And Travis Young, wow, just to get the start on Sunday after not playing extended time for so long and to come through with 4 hits and a career-high tying 4 RBI was huge.
So here's Gavin Stone. This is a rematch of the midweek game 3 weeks ago. Game won by Wichita State 9-6. Neither starter was around for the decision. Both pulled in the 4th, and there was a lot of Shocker fireworks in the 6th that decided that one. So Trey Vickers to lead it off. Vickers, Ritter, and Bohm in the Shocker first. First of 5 this week for Wichita State. This will be a busy and important week for the Shockers. 2 balls and no strikes. Trey Vickers. Vickers 3 out of 5 down in Conway. Scored a run. In the air, the wind's going to blow it back. Who's going to get it, if anybody? And a nice snow cone catch by Black, the second baseman. That was played quite well considering the conditions.
Obviously, anything hit to the right side is going to come back with some ferocity with that wind blowing from right to left at a pretty good clip. And Black and everyone on the right side of the field did a good job for Central Arkansas just not giving up on this ball and tracking it the whole way. Just didn't stick in the webbing.
Here's Luke Ritter. And he hammers one into left field. He stays hot. One of the guys we highlighted at the very top of the telecast, Luke Ritter, who was off to such a miserable and not a couldn't hit the ball out of his shadow start, but a tough luck, couldn't get the batting average on the good side of the Mendoza line start. But boy, he's just been hot as a firecracker lately.
Having a hard time getting anything by him right now. He's a supremely confident hitter who seems to have an idea of what he's trying to do up there. So anytime he gets his pitch in a hittable spot, he's putting his best hack on it, and that's all you can ask for. The results have definitely started to materialize.
That is now a career-high 9-game hitting streak for Luke Ritter, who coming into this game had his average 77 points higher this year than he did last. And here's Bohm, who we also talked about. He has raised his batting average from a year ago by 41 points. He's not a guy, Denning, that at first blush you would think, oh, he's got a lot of room to improve, but he only hit in the low 310s, and for a guy of his ability, 347 seems about right
seems
now.
About right.
Yeah.
He's really put it all together in his junior season, of course. We kind of got a hint this was coming with his summer in the Cape.
Curveball didn't curve, and it's 2-0 to the Shockers' top hitter.
I imagine Alec is pretty happy to see that flag whipping out to the left rather than right. That's where it was blowing for that entire UConn series, and has changed directions for this midweek contest. Anything in the air to left, he's got a chance today.
And Stone didn't exactly give in to him, tried to get him to fish. 3-0. Bohm, like Ritter, came into the game riding an 8-game hitting streak. So Ritter extends his to 9. And Bohm has a ways to go to get his best hitting streak. He had an 18-gamer last year. Bohm, the Shockers leader in all the Triple Crown categories and beyond. Slugging percentage as well, on base percentage. Tough out, period. And that one's barreled up and shot past the diving Aguilar. Back-to-back ringing singles off of Gavin Stone. And it doesn't get any easier for Stone because here comes Troutwine.
Well, Stone, like Snavely, is a guy who is going to throw his fair share of balls. He had walked 10 in 14 and 2/3 innings coming into play this afternoon. Got himself into a 3-1 count against Bohm, and that was a dangerous spot. I was almost thinking that Stone was going to come at him with something soft to see if he could get Bohm to chase instead of fastball that Alec did not miss.
But he is fortunate Alec did not elevate it. So here's Gunnar Troutwine. 2 on, 1 out.
He's dancing out there.
Troutwine, we talked about Ritter 77 points higher than last year's batting average. Troutwine's flirting with a 100-point improvement. He is 96 points higher at this point now than he finished last year with the batting average. Little tapper foul. Troutwine now tied for second on the team in home runs. Alone in second with those 29 RBI behind Bohm's 36. There you see his season's numbers.
Last year just looked like a guy that was pressing. Trying to do too much with every swing, trying to break out of a slump with every swing, and dealing with some nagging injuries as well. But he has had it all click in his 2018 campaign.
Through the middle, in for a base hit. So the three of the guys that we highlighted at the very top making us look good. The Shockers, after UCA missed an opportunity with the bases loaded late in the inning, in the top of the inning, Shockers cash in after a pop foul out. And Troutwine has knocked in his 30th.
Stone coming right after him on 0-2, and that pitch got way too much plate. Troutwine a chopper back up the middle, and you were a little concerned about the double play ball. Of course, Gunnar doesn't run particularly well, but Brashear was shaded just a step or two towards the 6 hole, and that proved to be the difference.
And the Bears, besides being pretty airtight defensively, pretty good at turning the double play. They turned 26 coming into the game, so Troutwine keeping it away from the middle infielders means a Shocker run. So here's Genesta. Grayson 2 out of 4 with a home run in the prior meeting. Matter of fact, that is his last home run. He has gone, not exactly a huge drought, but 47 at-bats between homers.
Feels like kind of a huge drought with the start that he and Bohm got off to. Had 4 home runs, I believe, through the first 2 weekends of play, and Bohm was right there with him. Those two have seen their power numbers drop off just a little bit. Of course, the average still very healthy. Genesta sitting at 310 after a big weekend against UConn.
He took Ross Rogers deep in that game 3 weeks ago. Shockers were down 6-3, but then scored 6 in the 6th, and Shocker relievers held Central Arkansas scoreless over the last 4. And they are loaded up. So 4 straight have reached after Vickers popped out. And here's Noah Croft. And here's a meeting on the mound trying to calm down Gavin Stone. Stone just a freshman and hasn't pitched either much at all or at all since we saw them last 3 weeks ago, maybe once. But he has not pitched at all on the weekends. He's basically been relegated to midweek either spot starts or relief appearances. And that didn't take long.
Central Arkansas not waiting around to get somebody up in the bullpen as Will Brand, the lefty, has begun to toss. But Wichita State has a chance to jump out to a pretty sizable advantage here in the first inning. And how big would that be for Preston Snavely? Just to be able to work with a lead, take kind of a deep breath and relax a little bit. We talked about how you need your defense to support a guy like that behind him, and you also need your offense to give him a little bit of support as well.
Well, Ritter, Bohm, Troutwine, and Genesta doing their best. They've all reached. Here's Croft. And he smashes one back through the middle. 1 run is going to score, and Troutwine being waved in, he'll score. And right on cue, Noah Croft picks up Denning Gehrig and Preston Snavely. Good call, partner.
Well, I love Noah not waiting around.
Yep.
First pitch, and he attacked it. That's a missile on into center field. Pretty aggressive send by Sammy Esposito at third, too. But Troutwine got a decent jump off of second base, just a quick glance back to make sure that it was through. And Hahn out in center field couldn't get all of his momentum behind this throw.
So Wichita State is a team now hitting .389 with the bases loaded. And now here's DeBacker after 5 consecutive Shockers have reached. Now caught the outside edge, 0-1.
Don't fall asleep on a double steal here. Genesta loves to lead those when he's out at second base, and we know Noah Croft, even though he does not have a successful steal this year, very fleet of foot for a catcher.
Right on cue, and that's into center field, and it's going to drop. So another run scores. DeBacker gets a little bit of help, although probably Genesta would have scored anyway. And the merry-go-round continues, and boy, Wichita State has already chased Gavin Stone. I was going to say that Alan Gum had a quick trigger, kind of, when these two teams met earlier. He pitched into the 4th and then ran into a little bit of trouble. Only gave up 1 earned run in 3 1/3. But they had a quick trigger then, and Wichita State has pushed Alan Gum's hand here in the very first inning. So after 1 out, the next 6 have reached, and we got a pitching change already here at Eck Stadium.
cold water for small batches with an ultra-smooth, full-bodied flavor. Discover the craft of cold brew today and keep on. America runs on Dunkin'.
Wichita State University is Shocker Nation. We exceed expectations, push boundaries, seize opportunities, and move boldly ahead. We are student-centered and innovation-driven. It's who we are. Our vision is simple but powerful. Create, innovate, collaborate, and celebrate. With one unifying purpose: to shock the world.
That was fast. Wichita State knocks Gavin Stone out of the game after 20 pitches, 5 hits, not a soft one on the bunch, and now Will Brand is coming in a whole heck of a lot quicker than he could have probably ever imagined. I guess the good thing, Denning, for UCA as we look at Will Brand's season numbers, they only have one midweek game. They don't have a game tomorrow, and so that's at the very least a silver lining for them. If you got to kind of search for it. This is in the midst of a bad inning for them.
You can see in the background of your picture right there, there is already another right-hander beginning to warm. So pretty clear that Central Arkansas and Allen Gum are going to treat this as a Johnny Holstaff, where they will get anything that they can out of Will Brand and hand it off to the next guy and give the offense some time to get back into this. But how about the start for Wichita State?
5 singles and a walk. And now Boyer. Brand pours one in there for a strike. Nothing in one. Brand, decent season numbers overall. He does have 2 saves. Only 9 walks and 39 2/3. Those are the highlights for him. But the Shockers have come out on fire. Boyer, bouncer up the middle. Only play is 1 and out there. So TJ Black with a decent play to retire Jordan Boyer. Hit too softly for it to be anything than a play at first. So now Young becomes the 9th man to bat in the inning.
This turf has turned plenty of those choppers over the years into infield hits. And as a middle infielder, you've got to have an internal clock that goes off after a certain amount of time. You got to get rid of the baseball quickly, and Black did a nice job there with the transfer. Sometimes you can rush that just a little bit, knowing you have to be quick with it, and Boyer does at least advance the runners 90 feet.
The Travis Young coming off a career best 4 hits in the Sunday win over UConn. And speaking of that turf, of course, the brown portion of the turf is not necessarily expected to play like dirt, but that turf length is a little shorter than the green portion of the turf. So it's somewhat realistic, if that's possible, if you get
That's what you're into, yeah.
If you follow along with that logic. 2-0, Travis Young.
How would you say, having seen baseball on a bunch of different artificial surfaces, how would you say Wichita State compares to others that you've seen?
Well, I really like the way this turf plays. I'll say that. I think it's fair for all. The infield isn't rocket fast for the infielders. You know, you hit it hard enough, you'll get rewarded as a hitter. There's some places you go, Dish Falk in Texas, for example, that turf is unbelievably thick and high, and it plays very much like tall grass in the infield. So it's very slanted toward pitching and defense, but it took a lot of getting used to being all turf except for on the mounds, but I do like the way this plays.
And I like the way you rarely see base hit into the outfield that just trampolines over an outfielder's head. To me, that is not really baseball, and you just don't see that very often here on this surface. It plays somewhat natural.
A mostly firm, natural surface is how this plays. I think it's fair to say. It's not a burn up, hard as a rock outfield in the summertime, for example. You know, it's not going to be that quick, but you'll get what you deserve on this field, put it that way. Young strikes out, but Wichita State has a great round, and they take an early 4-0 lead here at the Eck.
Wichita State University is Shocker Nation. We exceed expectations, push boundaries, seize opportunities, and move boldly ahead. We are student-centered and innovation-driven. It's who we are. Our vision is simple but powerful. Create, innovate, collaborate, and celebrate. With one unifying purpose: to shock the world.
Well, I was looking at just a little bit dicey for Preston Snavely, a guy searching for some confidence in that first inning. He wiggled off the hook, got himself out of trouble, actually, with a strikeout with the bases loaded, and then his guys got him 4 runs and batted around in the bottom of the first. So we'll see how Snavely parlays that after a 26-pitch first inning. Shana Denning with you here at the press box, and a beautiful night to be out on the hill at Eck Stadium. Temperature in the 80s, a little bit breezy, but 85, you'll take a little bit breezy. Finally, baseball weather here at the Eck.
A trade-off I think we're all really willing to accept, especially after this past weekend when the games were shuffled around just a little bit to deal with some pretty brutal winter weather on Saturday and Sunday. It was chilly and windy and not a whole lot of fun.
Fly ball right side. Genesta over for a look and can't quite squeeze it. Wouldn't have been an easy play, but he was there in time, and the wind was blowing it back toward him like we mentioned the last half inning.
Yeah, like we said, if you're on the right side of the diamond and a ball looks like it's going to be twisting into foul territory, it will blow back. And Genesta, of course, has played a lot of center field, so he is very accustomed to tracking fly balls, just typically not over his shoulder. And here sees this one tip right off the end of the webbing.
And for that matter, he's played a fair amount of first base, just not this year. Played a lot of first base last year. So here's Christian Brasher, who is getting a rare start. This is start number 2 for Christian. 2 for 9 so far in 3 total games played. Another foul ball back and out of play. Their normal shortstop and one of their best players, certainly offensively, Josh Somdesurf, who just happened to hit a 3-run bomb against Wichita State 3 weeks ago, not in the lineup. So Snavely, in essence, dodging a bullet there with one of the 9.
Got some reports that Somdesurf dealing with back spasms, and those can flare up when you least expect it, sometimes due to really no fault of your own, and can take a little while to get over. And so Central Arkansas playing it safe with one of their best players.
Brasher down on strikes, 1 away. Back-to-back strikeouts dating back to last inning for Preston Snavely. Well, speaking of back spasms, I hope that they either have a bed for Somdesurf or a bunch of comfortable pillows on the floor of the bus for that bus ride from here if they're going to Sam Houston State straight down there.
That's right.
That might be tough.
Buses are not great for comfort, let's just put it that way. Even those sleepers are still not the best thing in the world, especially if you've got a bad back and may not have even made the trip here.
Yeah, especially if they're going back home first. Yeah, I totally agree. Michael Hahn, the center fielder. He went 1 out of 3 weeks ago.
Speaking of, though, that's a big trip for Central Arkansas.
Yep.
Heading to Huntsville, Texas to take on Sam Houston State, who currently is at the top of the Southland Conference. Huge weekend series for them upcoming.
Good strike in there. Snavely's come out with a vengeance here in the second. Although UCA right there, 10-5 in the Southland, got off to a good start. They were outside the conference last week, swept Tennessee Martin. Didn't come around, 2-2. Kind of a painful 3-game series in Conway against Houston Baptist, where they lost 2 out of 3.
Tell you what, while we're talking Southland baseball, though, Incarnate Word was picked last in the preseason poll. They are 24-13 overall, 10-5 in the conference, and currently tied with UCA right now. So they are the surprise of the year. Everyone figured Sam Houston State would be right there, and Southeastern Louisiana can really swing it.
And McNeese, who Wichita State saw opening weekend, lost a few too many pieces for them to be up there at the top, but UCA did sweep Incarnate Word, so if it comes down to that, they've got the head-to-head matchup, but ought to be a good race down to the finish in the Southland. Another good pitch on 3-2. Ties up Hahn, and 2 away.
Preston Snavely has made his pitches when he's had to. I don't think we can overstate that 3-pitch strikeout of Hancock to end the first inning. It just seemed to put all the momentum in the Wichita State dugout, and they parlayed it into 4 runs in the bottom half of the first, and has made some excellent pitches in 3-ball counts so far.
Well, let's take that a step further, because in his 5 starts, Preston Snavely has been consistently inconsistent. 11 2/3, 12 hits, 11 walks, 11 strikeouts, and after he missed with a couple of borderline pitches and had Boyer make an error behind him, you'd certainly forgive him if he thought, here we go again, or what's going to happen next. But look at this bounce back here in the second. Shockers will go back to work offensively as we head to the bottom of the second.
Wichita State University is preparing today's students to become tomorrow's leaders. The Shock the World campaign is raising $25 million in private funds for a new home for the W. Frank Barton School on the Innovation Campus. Invest today in tomorrow's business leaders by calling 316-978-4076 or visit www.wichita.edu/shocktheworld.
The proverbial shutdown inning for Preston Snavely. 1, 2, 3 and out. They went down. The Bears did in the top of the second, and Snavely almost worked too quickly for us to really give him a pat on the back for that second inning. But man, he was right through him like a hot knife through butter on a guy that might have been questioning himself not 15 minutes ago when he was in some hot water.
Nearly cut the pitch count in half. After 26 in the first, needed just 14 to get through the second. Some big pitches, of course, the fastball to strike out Brasher, bounced back to get Hahn, and then got Black on the quick ground out. And most importantly, he gets the Wichita State bats back out there quickly. You want to keep the good vibes flowing as soon as you possibly can.
So Will Brand will get an inning of his own here. He did not pitch in the previous matchup with the Shockers. 1 ball and 1 strike. Top of the order once again here in the second. Vickers started the Shocker first by popping out. And then that turned out to be the only guy that Gavin Stone retired.
Intentional.
Ritter, Bohm, Troutwine, Genista, Croft, DeBacker all reached and went 90 feet at a time in either getting a single or a walk. Big hit of the inning, the biggest one I suppose, was Croft's 2-run single as Trey bounces one off of his foot.
Always a good sign when your leadoff hitter is leading off the first and the second innings.
He had quite a round and put up a crooked number. And even though his left foot is taking the brunt of it, Vickers putting together a good plate appearance here in the second, facing Will Brand for the first time.
Does have the Evo Shield protection on there, the lead leg, and that will lessen the blow just a little bit.
Boy, and Brand is living on the inside edge and beyond. So he's taking the right approach. Anything in that Vickers is bouncing off his foot, go back in there again until he gets the barrel to it. Hadn't done it yet. So Vickers is on there. Now Ritter.
Just the fifth walk for Trey Vickers drawn so far this year for as hot as he had been swinging the bat. 347 entering play today. He had not drawn a lot of bases on balls, but grinds out a great at-bat there against a pitcher in Brand who walks almost nobody. Just 9 free passes in more than 40 innings this year.
This is only the third game that Vickers has hit leadoff. He did on Sunday also. Scored a couple of times, was on there twice. That one's into left center field. That one's going to get down. And maybe you want to knock on wood when you say this, but Luke Ritter's getting paid back for all those atom balls that he hit first 3 weeks of the year.
That and then some. This time, after we saw him shoot a bullet through the left side in the first inning, got tied up and definitely didn't barrel this baseball, but there's a lot of green turf out there available, and all you got to do is hit it where they ain't. Dumps this one into shallow left center field, and I think if Vickers is able to get a slightly better read on it, he maybe could have gone first to third.
Also a guy dealing with the hamstring issue. You assume not anymore, but has. That cost him the first 3 weeks of the year, so erring on the side of caution, even if he thought he could make it. Now here's Bohm. Alex, single and a run scored last inning. And good for Luke Ritter. He's now hitting .311.
Come on, Blue.
Amazing turnaround for him. Oh, and 2.
A lot of cutting action from Will Brand. Fastball's going to be in the low to mid 80s, but especially against right-handed hitters, you'll see in which he can start it off the plate, work it back to the outer third, or pound it in on you like he did to Travis Young and Trey Vickers.
Looks awfully familiar.
Bohm homered in the Tulane series for that team high 8 total that he's sitting on right now.
What are you clapping at?
Had him reaching, just a little emergency swing ground ball that will result in an out, but not much of an opportunity for a double play. And that's not something you normally see from a guy leading his team in every major offensive statistical category, just trying to shoot one to right field, but we're almost getting used to seeing that from him. Now that was kind of a defensive swing, but it's what he felt he had to do to try to get the job done.
He feels more than comfortable shooting the ball the other way and definitely has the strength to turn those into extra base hits. That time, though, chased a pitch up and out of the strike zone. Maybe a breaking ball that wasn't quite coming back around, but with 2 strikes, felt he had to expand the zone.
Shockers had 9 runs and 11 hits 3 weeks ago in that 9-6 win. They got a double from Vickers, a triple from Wallace, and a homer from Genesta. Otherwise, 8 singles. Still looking for their first extra base hit here today, but already 6 singles through 12 batters. Troutwine had one of them his first time up. Bounced one through the middle.
You got room?
1-2.
Brand kind of exemplifies a lot of this Central Arkansas team, especially the pitching staff. For one thing, he is a transfer, one of 18 JUCO or Division II transfers on the Bears roster, and he's done a little bit of everything on the pitching staff. Has started 4 games. He's also got a couple of saves, and so Alan Gum and Nick Harlan have used him in a variety of different roles, and it seems like just about everyone on their staff has been used in either a relieving or a starting role.
They start the runner. That avoids a double play and means a run. Boy, Wichita State doing everything right so far here in this one. The runner started. Bohm went on first movement, and had he not, Black would have had time to gather, touch second, and turn that into a 4-3 double play. No question about it.
And if Black's maybe a couple inches taller, he doesn't have to jump.
Right.
He just reached up and gloved it, kept a foot on the bag, and then made the throw to first. So a play that was a matter of inches from several different things, with the Shockers get another run out of it.
I was kind of holding out hope that he'd get over Black's head and into center field the way this game had started for the Shockers, but don't want to get too greedy.
It's pretty similar to Troutwine's base hit back in the first. Just a chopper. His first swing had a little more behind it.
So now Genesta facing a southpaw after walking against Gavin Stone, the starter. Another RBI for Gunnar Troutwine. Now he's suddenly churning them out with regularity. After Wichita State beat UCA back on the 27th of March, 9-6, the next weekend against Northwestern State, they took 2 out of 3, and in the Saturday game, turned a triple play and had their starting pitcher strike out 4 batters in 1 inning. Go all year and not see either one of those things. Little cue shot to third, and it's too tough for Aguilar to handle, and he unwisely tried to get Bohm sneaking back to the bag, and it means another Shocker run. So Aguilar really compounded, I should say, a semi-tough play that had a lot of English on it. We'll take another look here as Wichita State gets Bohm home all the way from second base on a ball that didn't leave the infield until Aguilar threw it away.
Ball had a lot of spin on it. That second bounce, you could see it kick to the right, and Aguilar had to completely adjust his course and his path just to get to the baseball. That's what threw off the initial handling of it. And from there, he tried the pump fake and then the back pick at third base, but Bohm was going to go in standing anyway.
And he was basically on the bag, I think, wasn't he?
It was not a situation where there was an out to be had.
Not normally a defense that'll help you out, but that'll be ruled an infield single and an E5, allowing the run to score. Obviously, no RBI there. So the Shockers not content to get 4 and then put it on cruise control. Push 2 more across. Sunday, they busted out 5 against UConn in the first inning, but pretty much laid dormant until the 6th. And of course, they cranked it back up again to end up with 15. But if you're Todd Butler, you like to see this reaction in the second inning after a big first. Keep the pressure on. I think it's safe to say Croft's in swing mode tonight.
He has been aggressive.
Yeah, taking some good cuts.
And we saw this from him, too, when he came on as a pinch hitter a couple of times in that UConn series, where he was not up there waiting around. And like Trey Vickers, has not walked a whole lot this season. He was up there to do damage.
RBIs 6 and 7 last time he was up there. There goes Dennis to the third, but down goes Croft on strikes. But Shockers strike for 2 more and lead it 6-0 after 2.
Wichita State University is Shocker Nation. We exceed expectations, push boundaries, seize opportunities, and move boldly ahead. We are student-centered and innovation-driven. It's who we are. Our vision is simple but powerful. Create, innovate, collaborate, and celebrate. With one unifying purpose: to shock the world.
Shockers couldn't have asked for a much better start. Shane and Denning with you here on WSU TV. Shockers first of 5 this week. You and I were talking before we came on the air that it's going to come to a point where Wichita State thin pitching notwithstanding, Shockers are going to have to get their hands dirty on some of these midweek games, and certainly offense has gotten off to a pretty down and dirty start here in this one.
Well, when you say get your hands dirty, I assume you just mean outslug some
Punch some people in the face. Yes, exactly right.
I think that's why the win on the road against Central Arkansas is a game that I keep going back to, in that it's a game this Wichita State program over the last couple years hasn't won, frankly. Those midweek games where things get really ugly, teams don't necessarily play well, you don't pitch it particularly well, and at times you just got to put on your big boy pants and out-hit somebody. Yep. And this is a team that's going to be more physical and should be able to out-hit some people.
And beyond what you just said, it was 4-1 after 4 and 6-3 after 5. And this is a Shocker team that's the last 2 years specifically not used to winning those kinds of road games at all. And they shrugged it off and got 6 in the 6th, and then the bullpen made it stand up. So, yeah, that's not going out on too much of a limb to say that was a milestone victory for the Shockers this year. That one gets away from Croft, and they check down to third, no swing. Wise move by the home plate umpire, Travis Olson, to immediately check down to Terry Harrison on a close pitch, or pitch that may have been offered at.
Puts you in kind of an awkward position as a hitter. You're not sure if you should just start running, because that kind of gives it away that you think you swung, or if you should hang around, try and sell it a little bit, but Strong apparently did not go around.
Hunter grounded out to second, start the game.
It's out of there.
Strong was first team all-conference last year, but he was at a different position. He was the first baseman virtually all of last season. He hit .351 a year ago. Came 1 hit shy of tying the program record for hits in the season. Just a monster year. 24 doubles, too.
Strong, another good year this year, .345 coming in. Just before the Shockers saw them, he was coming off a conference hitter of the week honor, going .474 before Shockers came to town to play that midweek. And Snavely fooled him and strikes him out. 3 punch-outs for Preston Snavely.
You can get a good hitter like this to put a swing like this on a 3-2 pitch. You're doing something right. Look at the movement. Running away from Strong, he ends up with a half-hearted effort at it. And 3 punch-outs now for Preston Snavely. He's set down 5 in a row. Should be 6 if you count the error, and seems to have found a groove.
Keaton Presley went too far on a sharp, tight, late-breaking first pitch slider, 0-1. Presley hit it hard, but right at Travis Young his first time up there.
Yeah, that's right.
Straighten him up with a fastball, 1-1.
Presley, another junior college transfer from NEO, Northeastern Oklahoma A&M. The Norse down there, and a very good program. And a reminder, too, that there is a Miami, Oklahoma. That is where NEO is located.
But it's Miami.
That's right.
Not to be confused with how you normally spell or normally pronounce the same spelling. Miami, Oklahoma.
Yeah, exactly.
Back-to-back punch-outs for Preston Snavely, who has settled in quite nicely after a couple of walks in that error that Denning was talking about.
Preston Snavely has found it. Look at the movement. Shoo. That is late breaking, sharp, and difficult to catch, much less hit.
Most of the time, there is a little hump or a little up and down to your slider. That one basically went directly towards
sideways.
That had a blinker on it, yes. You will run out of bat trying to hit that one. And Snavely's cruising now. Tyler Smith drew a somewhat disputed walk, 1 of 2, issued by Preston in the first. One and 2.
On strike 17. That's cute.
See what Croft has in mind for Preston Snavely on a 1 and 2, and he hit him with a slider. So Snavely's put Smith on twice now. So there's a base runner for Rigo Aguilar.
So Snavely can avoid the string of bad fortune that befell him in that first inning when it was a free pass to Smith that forced him to throw a bunch more pitches. Got himself a 6-run cushion to work with here and can be a lot more aggressive to Aguilar.
Preston does lead the team in that category. He has now hit 7. But that one's right down Broadway. 0-1. What a block by Croft. And down by 6, Tyler Smith wasn't taking any chances. Probably could have made it, but the fact that that didn't make it to the backstop was a miracle. For a guy that hadn't gotten a lot of action behind there lately, wow, is right.
That was all quickness and anticipation and reading the bounce. Not many catchers can get over and not only keep this ball in front, but keep it in front with their chest protector. That was not just reaching across to spear it. That's working hard in a 6-0 game. I'm sure Preston Snavely and everybody appreciates that.
So we'll see if Snavely can get back in the count here. It's 2-1 after missing pretty badly with a couple. Wind continues to blow out to left, not quite as hard maybe as at the start of the game, but still will have a little effect. Boyer, what a play, and Genista bails him out. That was almost by Boyer, but it's been that kind of night for Wichita State.
Introducing Dunkin's new cold brew coffee, steeped slowly in cold water for small batches with an ultra-smooth, full-bodied flavor. Discover the craft of cold brew today and keep on. America runs on Dunkin'.
Wichita State University is Shocker Nation. We exceed expectations, push boundaries, seize opportunities, and move boldly ahead. We are student-centered and innovation-driven. It's who we are. Our vision is simple but powerful. Create, innovate, collaborate, and celebrate. With one unifying purpose: to shock the world.
Well, just as I say, last half inning, it may have calmed down a bit, picked right back up. This is certainly a hitter's night, and nice and warm. Temperature is in the 80s, low 80s at the start of the ball game. The wind has been blowing out of the south, pretty good clip all day long.
Let's go, Sammy!
4 in the first, 2 in the second for Wichita State, and those on the hill appreciate those nice temperatures and a warm breeze. Dayton Dugas will hit for DeBacker now that a lefty is in there. He was in the on-deck circle the last half inning, but Croft made the last out, so DeBacker went back out to the field to play one more half inning, and since Brand is still in there, Dugas will get a plate appearance. And that one makes its way into center field. Dayton Dugas pushing 500 against lefties. Part of the reason why he's in there now, and a big reason why he didn't get the start, on top of Josh DeBacker doing a nice job within the last couple of weeks with the bat against righties.
You just feel so good about Dayton against left-handed pitching. He looks like two completely different hitters versus southpaws and against same-side pitchers, and he is aggressive first and foremost. He does not wait around, and if something is straight and in the strike zone, he hacks away at it. That was drilled.
And Jordan Boyer just cost Dayton Dugas a stolen base standing up. Dugas was going to steal Will Brand blind right in front of his mug. There's nothing worse than that. Take my word for it. Somebody gets a great jump on you as a lefty and you can't pick over because you've already committed. That's helpless, but Boyer should have let that one go.
And I think Todd Butler was making that clear to Jordan after that pitch. That's just situational awareness. Got to have an idea of when your runner got a good jump or a poor jump, and in that case, you need to try and protect him.
That one's jerked a long way, but foul, and it's 0-2. And mostly that's out of the corner of your eye stuff, but to your point, it's awareness. Dugas can run. Brand doesn't particularly have a great move, so likely to be some action at some point during the plate appearance.
And you want to know, too, if your runner likes to go first movement, if he likes to go on the first pitch, just have an idea of tendencies of different guys out there.
Off the end of the bat, shot into right center field. That's going to get down. Dugas going to run a while. Hahn knocks it down, but couldn't field it cleanly. Dugas is going to score all the way from first. So Boyer atones by knocking him in anyway, and it's now 7-0.
Another 0-2 pitch and another 0-2 mistake. Boyer just a little bit out on his front foot, but he kept the hands back beautifully and drives this ball into right center field, splitting Hahn and Presley. And then Hahn didn't field it cleanly here. Tries to backhand it. It kicks off the heel of his glove. Dugas never stopped running, and another run on the board for Wichita State.
There's your first extra base hit of the night as Jordan Boyer knocks in his 17th. He has 7 doubles. So the Shockers have tallied in every inning. 4-2 and now 1.
7:05.
Young made the last out of that 4-run first.
Who's he talking to?
Seven runs on 9 hits. If you're on the season high hit watch, it is 20. And the 15 runs that the Shockers got against UConn Sunday, that's the high water mark there. 0-2.
Brand has had Travis Young out in front a couple times now with pitches moving down and in. That's what he struck him out on to end that first inning. Travis will try and make an adjustment. Again, put together one of the best games in his Shocker career on Sunday. 4 hits, technically a perfect day since his one out was the sacrifice fly.
He also knocked in 4. And for a guy as fast as he is, you're surprised he only scored 1 run, but that's just circumstance. But career day, any way you slice it. Pop back this way. It's still 1-2.
Maybe the best pure athlete on the Wichita State team, and a guy that Todd Butler has been kind of looking to get into the lineup on an everyday basis. Late in his freshman season, he really came on. Pretty much grabbed the left field job and saw some time in center field as well.
Borderline pitch low goes Brand's way, 1 out. And if you wanted to get a backyard football game up going, he might be your first overall pick. Travis Young, as good a quarterback and overall athlete as he was coming out of Derby High School.
A lot of good candidates for the first overall selection in the backyard football game on this Wichita State team.
My second pick would be tight end Dayton Duga.
That's right. I might take Connor Lungwitz.
I forgot about the prototype. Yeah.
Such a pocket passer.
Oh, talk about looking the part. Vickers is wearing out the third base dugout so far in his first 2 plate appearances. 0 for 1 officially.
I don't think Jordan Boyer has any intention of stealing third, but he seems to have Will Brand convinced that he is about to. A lot of looks back, and he has kept Black, the second baseman, close. Boyer only 2 stolen base attempts this year and 1 successful.
And just ran into an out. So that will be ruled a fielder's choice, and Boyer with a no-no. So this is by far the poorest of the 3 innings at the plate for Wichita State, as Young failed to move Boyer, and then Boyer ran right into an out. Not that that would have been the only play for Brasher, but certainly the easiest.
That was going to be a long throw from deep in the 6 hole. Was going to have to set his feet, plant, and get rid of it pretty quick. And Jordan made his job a lot easier.
And Brasher goes the short way to retire Ritter for the first time. But 1 more for Wichita State and 1 left as we head to the 4th.
Wichita State University is Shocker Nation. We exceed expectations, push boundaries, seize opportunities, and move boldly ahead. We are student-centered and innovation-driven. It's who we are. Our vision is simple but powerful. Create, innovate, collaborate, and celebrate. With one unifying purpose: to shock the world.
All Shockers all the time through first third of this one. Preston Snavely back to work in the 4th. He'll get Colby LeBlanc, the DH, then Hancock, then Brasher. Here on a warm and windy night at X Stadium. The homestand wraps up tomorrow night. KU comes to town, and then the Shockers embark on Denning, a road trip that will take them in the conference to Houston and UCF, and to in-state rivals KU and K-State. If you had to fill in the blank and describe that road trip, you would describe it as what or how?
Defining, I think. Will Wichita State be a player in the regular season American Conference race? I think that defines, this trip will define a lot of that. And it will define how Wichita State does in the in-state rivalries as well, which are not to be taken lightly by any means.
Houston is 7-5 in the league. UCF is 6-6 in the league. Shockers looking up at both. And while they are 4-5 overall, the leader only has 7 wins and has 3 games on Wichita State as far as games played. Shockers will catch up to him. And Vickers couldn't quite handle a shot that deflected off of Preston Snavely. There's going to be your first hit of the game for UCA.
Saw some weird English on Genesis' ground ball earlier, and this one had plenty of it too due to the deflection that this takes off of Snavely. I'm not sure where that this caught him. Off the backside of the leg.
Left calf, perhaps?
And then Vickers, it was pretty much going to be a do-or-die play. He had to hope that he could pick it on one bounce with that weird spin, and unable to do so cleanly.
So there goes the no-no. Now here's Will Hancock, struck out. This was maybe the defining plate appearance for Preston Snavely's outing today, back in the first.
3-pitch strikeout right after an error and 2 walks that had loaded the bases with 2 outs. It was huge. And for Snavely to buckle down and get Hancock himself showed mental toughness, and that's the kind of attribute that I think will serve him well moving forward.
As it stands right now, Snavely 3 innings, 1 hit, 2 walks. Both of them came in the first, 4 strikeouts. And since struggling to get ahead of hitters in the first, he's done just that. The second, third, and now here in the fourth. Jumped ahead of Hancock, 1 and 2.
The 7-run lead is going to give Preston Snavely a lot more rope, that's for sure.
And you would think a lot more confidence.
I can't imagine it wouldn't, knowing that you can make a mistake. It's okay. You've got plenty of cushion to work with. Just don't bury yourself with free passes.
And you got 7 guys behind you. 6, 4, 3. 2 down.
There's 3 of the 7 helping out. Taylor-made double play ball. Hancock, a catcher, doesn't run well, and nice return by Jordan Boyer. He got rid of this really quick.
Very diplomatic, as Wichita State now has turned 29 double plays on the season. Brasher takes downstairs, 1-0. Again, Christian getting a rare start tonight. Struck out back in the first. Updated now 2 for 10 on the entire season. He plays behind a really, really good shortstop, Josh Somdesurf. Missing tonight's game. He's hitting .316 with 6 home runs, including 1 against Wichita State 3 weeks ago.
It's a big bat, to be sure, missing out of this Central Arkansas lineup. They're just hoping to have him healthy for this weekend.
And leadership. Guy's a senior. One of their best players, and this is his last go-around.
Almost got him.
1 and 2 on a pitch out away from Brasher.
Just to compare, Preston Snavely's first start against Central Arkansas lasted exactly 3 2/3, so he's through 3 2/3 right now. In that first start, he allowed 5 hits, 3 walks, and 3 runs. Just the 1 hit and 2 walks today. A different guy out there.
And didn't strike out a soul against Oklahoma State last week. Has 5 tonight.
Wichita State University is preparing today's students to become tomorrow's leaders. The Shock the World campaign is raising $25 million in private funds for a new home for the W. Frank Barton School on the Innovation Campus. Invest today in tomorrow's business leaders by calling 316-978-4076 or visit www.wichita.edu/shocktheworld.
So far, so good for Wichita State. 3, 4, and 5 in the order. Will Brand still out there. He's been in there since the first for UCA after the Shockers knocked out Gavin Stone after a third of an inning. Shane Dennis, Denning Garrick, Shockers on WSU TV, taking out some frustrations against Central Arkansas. Whatever was residual after losing 2 out of 3 over the weekend against UConn inside the conference. Shockers have gone 4 in the first, 2 in the second, 1 in the third. And Alec Boehm is yet to be retired and has scored both times. Will Brand, Denning, has at least for the most part come out throwing strikes. Shockers have been in hit mode from the beginning. They come out uber aggressive against Gavin Stone, but Will Brand not messing around though either.
Yeah, like we mentioned, had just the 9 walks in over 40 innings. Did walk Trey Vickers, but otherwise he's been around the strike zone, and it's pretty clear what his job was going to be coming in a situation like he did. He is just trying to give them some length, get into the middle innings, and turn it over to the bullpen, which can then treat it a little more traditionally, 1 or 2 innings at a time.
Off the fist. Long run for Hahn, who was playing deep, and he runs it down. Well read by Hahn, 1 away.
Anytime Alec Boehm takes a full swing, your first instinct is definitely going to be a step back. And look how deep Hahn was. He was just a couple steps in front of the warning track, showing off the closing speed to make that catch look fairly comfortable.
Between Boehm taking a full swing and the wind howling out to left center, I think I'd feel a little uncomfy about sprinting 90-0 in toward home plate. Not have that thing bounce over your head or land over the top of your head. But it just goes to show you how center field's not easy to play, and it's not just pure speed that helps you play it. Moon shot to left, down toward the corner. Don't overrun it. And Strong made the play in the dead corner.
He nearly did. He nearly overran.
You see it quite a bit. Right-hand pull hitters hit it to the moon right on the line. You'll see a lot of left fielders overcommit. But Strong caught it right over the top of his head. Never quite lost sight of it. That probably would have landed fair.
Yep, I was just about to say the same thing, and that's not an easy play to make, but at the same time, as a left fielder, you got to be aware of the spin of the baseball and where it's going to naturally tail back to you. You don't have to go, like you said, 90-0 to one spot.
Genesta took a shot at left, and the wind will help push this one out close to 21st Street. Grayson a walk and a single. There was a 2-week stretch there about probably a couple of weeks ago. It started with the ECU series where he found the hits really hard to come by. But he kind of got loose toward the end of the Tulane series, got his hits here and there, and the average is starting to climb again. And that one's hit a long way to center field. Hahn going back, he leaps and he can't get it. So Genesta has victimized UCA twice. Grayson with home run number 7, RBI 23. And Will Brand gets touched up for his 6th home run served up this year, and the Shockers have continued to score in every inning.
Grayson taking advantage of the home elements and his home ballpark just a little bit. And this past weekend against UConn, this ball's probably in maybe medium deep center field, but the wind carries it out of here to left center, and the swing on 3-1 is what you like to see, though. It was aggressive and it was trying to do damage, and elevates that one out of here to center.
Hahn can play a little center field, can't he? I mean, he knew that the wind was going to help it, and he didn't exactly run straight to the spot, but he got back to the wall. Good cut by Croft, 2-1. The Shockers are 21-3 when they hit a home run in a ball game. Croft making a bid, trying to dump one into right center, but a good drop step by TJ Black, and that's that for the Shockers. But a 2-out home run for Genesta. The Shockers add on here in the 4th.
And don't forget
Wichita State University is Shocker Nation. We exceed expectations, push boundaries, seize opportunities, and move boldly ahead. We are student-centered and innovation-driven. It's who we are. Our vision is simple but powerful. Create, innovate, collaborate, and celebrate. With one unifying purpose: to shock the world.
To the 5th we go. Wichita State cruising 8-0 behind Preston Snavely's one-hitter through 4. Shocker Sports Grill and Lanes is the perfect place to spend time with family and friends. Open to the public. Go to the Shocker Sports Grill and Lanes, which features 8 bowling lanes, billiards tables, great food and beverages too, like freshly made burgers, sandwiches, salads, cold beer, and more. Shocker Sports Grill and Lanes, located in the lower level of the Radigan Student Center. It's the perfect place for kids' birthday parties too. Also group events or a night out with friends. Shockers have out-hit the Bears 10-1. They've outscored them 8-0. Each team with one miscue, but overall, Denning, it's been all Shockers after Preston Snavely wiggled off the hook in the first.
Just about the only danger that he's had to navigate through. Got some help from his defense with the twin killing back in the 4th, but otherwise he's been in cruise control.
Michael Hahn grounded out to second. His only time up there. Preston Snavely entered the inning with 70 pitches. The way he's been going, you'd certainly take that. 39 of them for strikes, which you absolutely will take. He has walked 2, but they both came in 1 inning. So, for the most part, he's had his way with UCA hitters. And he's had a lot of those swings right there, Denning, in hitters' counts that have resulted in ground balls that look a lot like that.
His fastball is causing problems right now for sure. And as much as we talked about the movement on his slider and how late and sharp that action has been, if you can just throw a fastball and get bad swings and hitters counts, you're ahead of the game.
Bohm's going to have a lot of time. Didn't take any, but got Michael Hahn, who was a little slow getting out of the batter's box. And to your point and to my suggestion, threw him another one. And while he didn't get it on the handle, another non-quality swing on a pitch where on 2-2 you think somebody would really put a good pass on it. But credit Snavely's life on his pitches.
Not only that, but he's spotted up for the most part tonight. Throwing fastballs where he's wanted to and just looked like a different guy. If this is the kind of Preston Snavely we can get in midweek starts moving forward, Wichita State will feel like they're in a much better place against the Kansas States and the Kansases of the world.
Well, I didn't want to speak too soon, but now that we're in the 5th and he's thrown the way he has, this is absolutely a gift for Mike Steele, Todd Butler, and the coaching staff, considering there's a game tomorrow and then 3 this weekend against Houston, and a couple of pitchers that are due to come off what there isn't a disabled list, but in essence have been disabled, and that's
the shelf, the proverbial shelf.
The shelf, Alex Siegel and Connor Lungwitz. They're hopeful that both those guys will be back sooner rather than later. And with one guy going on it, Tommy Barnhouse, who came out of his start on Sunday with some arm discomfort, he will not pitch this weekend. So this start here today, and there's a walk to TJ Black. Very, very important, not only for Snavely, but for the pitching staff in its entirety this whole week.
So we talked him up quite a bit, but that's a 4-pitch walk to the 9-hole hitter. And
it went an 8-0 game.
That is the step in the wrong direction that you got to avoid as a young guy. You cannot get comfortable with having looked great for 4 1/3 innings. Those are the kind of sequences that can't happen. And if Preston Snavely is going to take the next step, he's got to cut down on those.
So now facing the UCA order for the 3rd time, Hunter Strong is grounded out and struck out. First guy in scoring position since the 1st inning. So a walk and a wild pitch, so any potential or conventional double play goes out the door there.
Very little chance for Noah Croft, and honestly, Preston Snavely probably pretty lucky that that did not clip the back foot of Hunter Strong. That was his hit by pitch back in the 3rd when he got Smith on a kind of similar offering. Breaking ball working to the back foot of the lefty.
Looked like he tried to throw him a changeup there. See if it stays in play for somebody. Croft. Oh, look out. It's a good thing there's not a gate on the dugout, as Noah went sprinting right into it. Good effort and almost made the play. Although I will say, if you're ever going to work on your 3rd best pitch when it's 8-0, I suppose that would qualify.
Yep.
But turned into a wild one.
This ball was not up in the air for very long, so for Noah Croft to even get over there was pretty impressive.
Boy, he almost made that play.
Don't talk about closing speed for a catcher very often.
No,
but
you don't.
He has it. Noah Croft's the kind of athlete you could probably put him out in the outfield. He'd do fine. No doubt that he could cover some ground.
In the air to left. Ritter makes the catch. There's job 1. Tagging at second was TJ Black. So 2 away, but I'm sure Preston Snavely will say so what to that part. He's got 2 outs in the inning.
This was a little concerning off the bat. High fly ball to left field, and Ritter seemed to have it measured, but just kept drifting, and that's the dangerous part. Ended up having to reach up and extend every bit of his 6-foot frame to make that catch. And like we talked about, you got to adjust for the wind. You got to take just an extra step or 2 because it will play tricks with the baseball.
Well, regardless, and I don't know who stresses the outfield play and who would qualify as the outfield guru, but I'm sure one of the very top rules is don't drift. You will eventually get in trouble if you drift after baseballs, even on relatively harmless fly balls. It's a bad habit to get into, and I'm not saying that Ritter doesn't most of the time get into the spot where he needs to be, but you just got to overcompensate for that wind. You want to come in a little bit, then that's fine, but to continue to drift back, asking for trouble. Keaton Presley's 0 for 2. Shocker bullpen for the moment, very quiet. Presley is a dangerous hitter. A good pitch. 6 home runs. He and Somdesurf, the guy we told you about that's not in the lineup tonight, both those guys with the team lead in home runs. Presley was 0 for 3 in the previous meeting against the Shockers in Snavely. So 2 on for Tyler Smith. And it was right around the time we started talking Preston Snavely up that threw a wild pitch and now has hit his second batter. Nowhere for Keaton Presley to go.
Well, another test for Preston. He passed the first one with flying colors back in the first. A jam that was somewhat self-induced, somewhat not of his own volition, able to get out of it. Now, first and third, 2 out, in a situation where you would much prefer this game remain as comfortable as possible. And you start giving up crooked numbers in the middle innings, it can get a little dicey.
And Boyer almost hooked him up, and Vickers couldn't squeeze it. Boy, just that close, and I don't know if it was a little harder than Trey thought it was going to be, but Snavely came within an eyelash of getting out of the inning. The run scores now 8-1.
I'm not really sure how
Take another
this will
look.
be scored. This ball was well struck. Boyer does the hard part with the backhand pick, and I think that's just on Trey Vickers. Maybe caught him a little bit by surprise with the velocity of the flip, but that's a flip right to him.
Yeah, Boyer did the hard part. At any rate, a run scores. Still 2 men out there. And I'll say this about Preston Snavely. Denning, you talked about a big spot for him. It didn't take long for Alan Gum to figure out that Gavin Stone didn't have it because the Shockers lathered him in the first. I'm still waiting to see UCA measure him up on pitches in the strike zone. You know what I'm saying? His stuff is beating UCA right now. He hasn't helped himself all the time, and he hasn't gotten a ton of help behind him, but it's not like UCA is okay. You feel like now they've got Snavely on the ropes.
Pretty much all the rallies have been due in large part to Snavely losing command of the strike zone, whether it's the hit-by pitches or the walks. And not a whole lot of balls that have been squared up, but that can change in a hurry, and Preston's got to buckle down and make sure that he stops the bleeding as soon as possible here.
So that'll go Fielder's Choice E6. 2 errors by the Shockers today. That was a nifty play made by Jordan Boyer. I don't think we can overstate that. But Snavely will have to throw a few more here in the 5th. And it hit the runner. It looked like out at first, one way or the other. Maybe my eyes are deceiving me, but I thought maybe that hit Tyler Smith's foot. But a good job by Jordan Boyer, and the inning does come to a close, and Snavely is qualified for the victory.
Introducing Dunkin's new cold brew coffee, steeped slowly in cold water for small batches with an ultra smooth, full-bodied flavor. Discover the craft of cold brew today and keep on. America runs on Dunkin'.
Wichita State University is Shocker Nation. We exceed expectations, push boundaries, seize opportunities, and move boldly ahead. We are student-centered and innovation-driven. It's who we are. Our vision is simple but powerful. Create, innovate, collaborate, and celebrate. With one unifying purpose: to shock the world.
So Will Brand overall did a pretty good job in relief for UCA. Went 3 2/3, had to come in the first inning. Shockers in the midst of a 4-run first. Brand came in and then subsequently gave up 4 of his own. So now it'll be Connor Williams, seldom used right-hander Denning, who in the games that he has pitched has put up kind of some gaudy numbers, especially with the strikeout totals in just 10 innings.
How many chances to prove himself up to this point, but through 6 appearances at the very least, has shown plenty that Alan Gum and Nick Harlan can be excited about. But coming on in this situation where, again, he just kind of has to eat some innings, give the offense time to get back into this ball game. That was a great job by Snavely in the top half of this frame to limit the damage to just a single tally.
So if Snavely is finished, he goes 5 with 1 unearned run. And the Shockers leading by 7. We were told just before first pitch that there's a very good chance that Jacob Lindemann would make his Shocker season debut with a lot of circumstance and the 5 games in this week and all the rest. That Lindemann, and there goes Dugas on the first pitch, takes a shot at right field, and the wind won't quite blow it back into fair play. But that Lindemann, who hadn't pitched all year, might get some action here tonight, and I can't think of a better way in
This is ideal.
easiest the type of game that you could put a guy in there for the first time.
8-1 in the midweek in the 5th inning is
Primo.
That's put that in a box, because that is exactly how I think Mike Steele would have drawn it up.
2-1 to Dugas. Dugas entered after UCA went with a left-hander. He didn't start the game. DeBacker got a hit in his only plate appearance. Dugas got a hit against Brand. And it's going to be tough for Brasher, and safe at first. We talked about maybe a backyard football game and the athletes that Shockers have. You could come up with a fairly unlikely relay team, especially when you're considering the physiques of a guy like Dugas and Croft, 2 guys that are real big and that are real fast. You don't see that in baseball very often.
Just a high bouncer to short, and that was actually Eddie Sanchez who's come on to take over at shortstop. And as soon as you have to wait back on that big second bounce, there's not going to be much of a chance at all if the runner has any kind of speed. Croft and Dugas, like you mentioned, guys are very good bets to beat out those high choppers. Dugas, 2 hits now off the bench.
And even on balls that Dugas doesn't sniff out a hit like that or a swinging bunt, you have to give him credit because he runs hard on every single ground ball. Not going to catch him jogging down to first.
And I mean, when you've got speed, you've got to utilize it. And it doesn't really do you much good to be fast and not run hard all the time. You might as well force the defense to make a play. We talked about Travis Young and his bunting the other day, about how it doesn't have to be perfect. With his speed, it'll force you to hurry, and that'll create plenty of mistakes in and of its own right.
And that's the one thing that doesn't go into slump. Speed. So Dugas has now 2 for 2. Shockers with 11 hits. Boyer has one of them. Dugas goes. The pitch is high and in time to get Dayton Dugas. Quick enough to the plate was Connor Williams. And Hancock throws him out. One away.
Combination of not the best jump from Dayton Dugas and a very good pitch to throw on. Fastball up in the zone that gave Hancock plenty of time. Throw down on a bounce, but accurate enough, and the tag applied.
Yeah, you get a fastball about mask high, and you'd have to really screw it up not to throw a guy out trying to steal, even a guy as fast as Dugas, but credit Will Hancock. He delivered that one right on the money. And that one checked up, and Williams couldn't get him. That little cue shot off the plate checked up on that second bounce, and Williams had to lurch in one more step to get it, and that is what cost him.
He made the crucial mistake of stopping his feet instead of continuing to charge after the baseball, and had both of his feet planted, ready for it to trickle to him, and it just didn't. A golf shot and just sticks. And Boyer, to his credit, hustling out of the box the whole way, able to beat it out.
Alex Jackson's going to hit for Travis Young. And I can say, as a pitcher, on a little tapper back to you, the fewer times it bounces, the better. Don't let it bounce one more time, because you never know what that's going to lead to. Alex Jackson, 7 out of 37. 1 double, 3 RBI.
I'll tell you what, there are some pitchers who want to field the baseball. They actively seek it out to try and make plays defensively. 2 guys that immediately jump to mind for me are Cale Elam and Ray Ashford. Guys who had also spent some time at other positions, willing to actively pursue the baseball, and then there are others who want no part of it. And that's okay, but there's no wrong answer to either one of those, as long as you're good at it and capable of fielding your own position. But pitchers tend to fall into 2 camps as far as that's concerned.
I think as Clint Eastwood famously said, a man's got to know his limitations.
Man's got to know his limitations.
And Cale Elam, the fact that he was a position player, that was such a luxury when he pitched. I mean, there wasn't a ball that would get by him. If you wanted to try to bunt on him, good luck, because you were going to be out. And Jackson hammers one to right field, but Presley's back there, and the wind didn't do Alex any favors. And safe at first after Boyer got all the way down to second base. You feel for Alex Jackson, who probably could use a hit right about now.
This past weekend against UConn, this ball's probably on the hill.
Yep.
Just destroyed to right field and didn't even scare the warning track just because it got knocked down. But that's a really good sign for Alex Jackson, and he should be smiling. To go that long between at-bats, to come off the bench and put together a swing like that is a very good sign. Todd Boehler would love to get him more plate appearances moving forward. Isn't that just about right, though, when you're scuffling? The guy in front of you hits it about 8 feet, hits himself a single. You square it up, and you're headed back to the dugout. Slumps in baseball are a funny thing.
But all Dugas did was pound it straight down to the ground, and that rewarded him too. Vickers couldn't keep that one fair. It's 1-2. Alex has not had a hit since UT Arlington was in town. And it seems longer than that. Foul tip, not held by Hancock. Vickers 0 for 2 officially, walked and scored in the second. Shockers waited until 2 were out last inning to score. Genesta lofted one over the center field fence. There are 2 outs here in the 5th, and Vickers has got to keep things going if they want to score in every inning. Young is out, so he goes 0 for 2. Vickers is the only starter now that doesn't have a hit. Everybody else has had at least one.
He's right now in the midst of a classic Trey Vickers at bat, where he gets to 2 strikes and then is just very annoying. Backside gone, keeps the hands back, just flicks everything.
And I was going to say he'll probably end up serving one into right field for a hit, but Vickers went fishing and down he goes, and the Shockers for the first time are scoreless.
Wichita State University is Shocker Nation. We exceed expectations, push boundaries, seize opportunities, and move boldly ahead. We are student-centered and innovation-driven. It's who we are. Our vision is simple but powerful. Create, innovate, collaborate, and celebrate. With one unifying purpose: to shock the world.
Contact the development office at 978-5553.
8-1 Shockers as we go to the top of the 6th. And as we suspected, and you couldn't draw it up much better than this, for somebody's debut this deep into the season, Denning, Jacob Lindemann, a big right-hander from Burlington, Wisconsin, will make his debut for Wichita State in A, busy week, B, a little bit of a thin staff, and if you can help out the club down the stretch, burn that red shirt every single time. That's what's going to happen here.
And it's nice to come into an 8-1 ball game. That certainly helps things a little bit. But Lindemann is in pretty much the same mold as Preston Snavely, who's getting some high fives from his teammates in the dugout. Big right-hander, tall, projectable. The coaching staff absolutely loves this guy. They feel like down the road he can really be a power arm for them. And he'll regularly be in the low 90s with his fastball. Excited to see his Shocker debut here.
Now, the thing working against Lindemann, unfortunately, is the butterflies. He hasn't got any of those first outs, first strikeouts, first anythings out of the way yet. So he'll probably have an issue keeping his emotions in check, and understandably so. This is, in spite of an 8-1 game, this is a big moment for him.
Just different than a typical freshman where every other freshman in the world is going to get their debut and their first whatever, that first weekend of the season. He's had to wait a long time for this moment and just gets thrown right into the fire. But a chance to definitely earn some meaningful innings out of the bullpen if he can put together a good outing.
Colby LeBlanc will greet him here in the 6th. There's one first out of the way. Fastball right down the middle. UCA doesn't have a scouting report against Jacob
That's
Lindemann.
right.
He's got that going for him.
Unless they frantically called a high school coach in Wisconsin.
One out, and I think those in attendance, or at least some of them anyway, realized that they cheered extra loud for that relatively harmless ground out to second. One away.
Through 2 pitches, he's got the right idea. Throw fastballs for strikes, see what happens. 7-run lead to work with, pound the strike zone. First fastball, by the way, clocked at 90, so I'm sure there's some adrenaline. There's 92.
And we probably should make this clear, too. Just because he hasn't pitched doesn't mean he hasn't been in bubble wrap since October. He's throwing bullpens, any inter-squad or simulated games that have been played. You know he's right in the thick of it because, as Denning and I have talked about, it's in college truly the next man up. Somebody gets hurt, somebody gets in trouble, grades, whatever it is. This is the equivalent of a call-up. You had guys that you didn't necessarily expect to have help you this year, but that doesn't mean you can totally zone out and check it in and say, hey, we'll see you next fall. You got to stay ready. You never know.
I think that's the toughest part, is staying ready mentally. Because like you said, they're throwing bullpens, they're lifting weights just like everyone else on the roster, so it's no different in that regard. But to stay locked in mentally and have the idea that any game could be the game where I'm called upon, that's a hard thing to do, especially when you're having to watch all your teammates go out there night in, night out and compete, and you're just kind of having to watch on the side.
Croft thought that was good enough, but apparently not. And somewhat tight strike zone all night tonight. So 1 on, 1 out for Sanchez, or at least the scheduled hitter.
Come on, Blue, let the kids play. It's just baseball.
Maybe Paul Rouse.
Shortstop, Eddie Sanchez.
8 instead of 2, those tricky purple numbers.
That was a pretty good 3-1 pitch, by the way, from Lindemann.
I'll say.
Croft maybe stabbed at it just a little bit too much.
So Sanchez, who came on to replace Brasher, who struck out twice. This will be his first plate appearance. Bounce to third. And how about that? Picking up Jacob Lindemann after a borderline walk. A nifty 5-4-3 double play. Congratulations, young man. You just hung up a 0 in your first college inning.
Yeah, Justin.
6th inning is brought to you by the Kansas
Wichita State University is preparing today's students to become tomorrow's leaders. The Shock the World campaign is raising $25 million in private funds for a new home for the W. Frank Barton School on the Innovation Campus. Invest today in tomorrow's business leaders by calling 316-978-4076 or visit www.wichita.edu/shocktheworld.
The Shockers got 4 in the first and haven't turned back. UCA finally got on the board in the 5th after the Shockers took an 8-0 lead. We head to the bottom of the 6th. Attention, Shocker fans. We want to shop the largest selection of Shocker merchandise at the official store of Wichita State University. University Bookstore is located on the first floor of the Radigan Student Center on the campus of WSU, or online 24/7 at wsubooks.com. Find everything you need for every generation of Shocker Nation. Join our Shocker Rewards program for cash back on future purchases as well. It's the University Bookstore, the place to shop. Get all your updated gear now that Shockers are in the American. And Wichita State will go back into American play this weekend down in Houston. Night games Friday and Saturday. Getaway day Sunday at 1.
Leading off, the WSU 6th.
Luke Ritter continues his tear, extended his hitting streak to a career-high 9 with a first-inning single, followed it up with another one in the second. Facing Connor Williams for the first time. Connor's back out there for inning number 2 after turning the Shockers away in the 5th.
Haven't seen much of him, but Connor Williams probably needs to pitch more. He is really good stuff, really good numbers.
Good yacker right there to Ritter.
Threw an inning and a third scoreless in the first game against Wichita State. And to top it all off, he's from Conway. So, hometown kid. Gives more chances.
Can of corn to shallow right. Nicely played by Black, who at this time of night might be a little tougher to see, but he never took his eye off that pop-up from Ritter. So Luke's now 2 out of 4. Yeah, faced 4, retired 4, only threw 10 pitches in that game against Wichita State. So he should be bucking for a promotion, gets more meaningful innings. Here's Bohm, 1 out of 3. So if you could draw it up any differently, I doubt you would have, for Snavely and Lindemann, who have combined on a 1-hitter so far. Snavely badly needed a good start. This was Lindemann's first outing. We'll see if he gets to go back out for another. It would appear, at least right now, he will. Bohm tried to hit that one to Bel Air. 2-1.
Nearly did it, too. Those fouls right back to the screen indicate that a hitter is right on it. It just means a touch underneath the baseball. But if you're redirecting a ball virtually straight back with that kind of velocity, you didn't miss it by much.
Much better pitch there from Williams. That was impossible to hit. That'll get you in the Hall of Fame. You live there. 2-2. And that curveball is rocketed into left center field. Bohm, after a big turn and with Strong playing deep, he'll think better of it and retreat back to first. Big time at bat there for Alec Bohm.
It's a 2-2 breaking ball that strikes out maybe 70% of college hitters. And instead he goes down and gets it and not only makes contact with it, but just hits a rocket over the head of the shortstop. That's a big league at-bat, really. To spit on the 2 breaking balls to start the at-bat that weren't that far off. Squared up a 2-0 fastball. Spits on another fastball that is a strike, but not in his nitro zone, and then goes down and gets that. That was just, I don't think I'll ever get tired of watching Alec Bohm hit.
Well, anybody that wants to take him, and they'll be lining up in the first round. Mason O'Brien hitting now for Troutwine. Pop in the tape and watch that at bat. You want to justify taking Bohm in the first round beyond his raw power? Not a bad case study.
That was a pretty good example, yeah. What's so interesting, though, is that if you just wanted to take him on his power alone, he's still probably a first rounder. But scouts have a way of dividing things up where when it comes to the tools, the traditional 5-tool player, there's a difference between power and then the so-called hit tool, feel for hitting or however you want to call it. And I've heard some grades thrown around for Alec that are pretty impressive. Scouts evaluate on a 20/80 scale with the idea of you can have a present value and then a future value. And for Bohm, I've seen some guys grading his hit tool right now at a present 65, which
That's heady stuff.
that's Major League All-Star already.
There are times I wish you were a little older, and you can help me on this one. You remember Sean Dunston?
Shawan?
Yes.
Yeah.
And what he was known for? He played shortstop for the Cubs, and he routinely, I'll fill in the blanks for you, would throw 90-plus across the diamond. He had an 80 infield arm. O'Brien gets into one to right center field. That's going to drop in there. Bohm will go first to third. So Mason O'Brien gets the Shockers back in gear with one out here in the sixth. And I'm sure there have been others, but an 80 for a position player. By the way, he was a freshman, or not a freshman, but a high school sign, and played a long time in the big leagues. But that gives you an idea of how often or lack of that scouts hand out those really, really high grades.
And they'll rename the 80 as like that bench.
Right, yeah.
So you don't have an 80 arm, you have a Shawan Dunston arm, and I love the way in which scouts will utilize comps to kind of help.
Boy, they all do it, don't they?
Group players and just essentially you're stereotyping in a way.
Right.
You get an idea.
The cross-checker or the GM will ask you, who is he? Say, if he hasn't seen Alec Bohm, he'll ask the area guy or the guy that's seen him the most, who is he? What's he look like? And you'll have to come up with a big league comparison. That's kind of a fun game, actually. Genesta couldn't have hit it harder, but that's going to be a 4-6-3 double play. Not much Grayson could do about that, and Wichita State is denied again here in the sixth.
Wichita State University is Shocker Nation. We exceed expectations, push boundaries, seize opportunities, and move boldly ahead. We are student-centered and innovation-driven. It's who we are. Our vision is simple but powerful. Create, innovate, collaborate, and celebrate. With one unifying purpose: to shock the world.
So Preston Snavely goes 5 innings, 1 hit, 1 unearned run, struck out 5, and turned it over to freshman Jacob Lindemann, a native of Wisconsin, who before the game we were kind of just off the top of our heads trying to rack our brains, find out how many and who came to the Wichita State program from the state of Wisconsin. And Jacob's got a little pressure on him. You got Don Heinkel, who not only was a big leaguer, but all he did was win the most games ever in college baseball. And Adam Peterson, a guy that got a cup of coffee with the Toronto Blue Jays. So 2 big leaguers, and now Jacob Lindemann, if nobody else in the history of the program was from Wisconsin. Fine trio and good company to be in.
Well, Jacob was very highly regarded out of Wisconsin. Top recruit. Top 500, my perfect game, top 10 in the state. And you can see why. This arm is pretty electric.
8, 9, and 1 in the order. And Genesta wins race to the bag, 3 unassisted. Jacob retired the first man that he faced, and then got a double play after a walk, and a good start to the 7th.
Second baseman, TJ Black.
Black is 0 for 1, but he's scored the only run of the game for UCA. .90 miles an hour, right down the middle, nothing in one.
Don't think we've seen anything but a fastball so far from Lindemann, and he hasn't really needed it. The exception of the somewhat dubious walk to Hancock, who's been in and around the strike zone.
Well, no need to try to reinvent the wheel when you're up 8-1. And frankly, not that they're exactly the same, but Preston Snavely's fastball gave UCA plenty of fits too. So that was something
Different.
non-fastballish. I'm not exactly sure what that was, but it was a called strike.
Might have just been a change-up with some cutting action.
I was going to say something that cut, but it was effective.
That was a breaking ball. That was a dang good one, too.
Well, that was Travis Olson's chance to show off. There has not been yeah, there has. I was going to say there hasn't been a called strikeout yet tonight, but that was a chance for Travis Olson to work on his. And good for Jacob Lindemann to come back with another strike after what looked like strike 3 on a breaking ball.
Instruction for all your exterior home needs.
Don't have the numbers necessarily to back this up, just because I don't think any database of this exists. But I would say in general, Wichita State throws a lot of fastballs, more than your average club. That varies, of course, pitcher to pitcher.
Two up and two down in the UCA 7th. Well, it's a baseball axiom, but it's true. If you command your fastball to different quadrants in the strike zone, it's like having different pitches.
In some cases, it literally is different pitches. Like Cody Hoyer throws a two-seam fastball,
Right,
throws a four-seam
exactly.
fastball, and those definitely shouldn't just be grouped into fastballs because they do different things. But still, I think in general the principle is the same, which is that Mike Steele wants you to be able to throw your fastball, whatever kind it is, for a strike, and then we'll work off of that to everything else.
Two 2-0 to Hunter Strong, who's hitless in 3 tries. There's Mike Steele sitting in front of the bucket anyway. Cody Hoyer by his side. (3-1) that play goes, and 3 ground balls. Jacob Lindemann has now put up 2 scoreless frames in his Shocker debut. Stretch time here at the ballpark.
Introducing Dunkin's new cold brew coffee, steeped slowly in cold water for small batches with an ultra-smooth, full-bodied flavor. Discover the craft of cold brew today and keep on. America runs on Dunkin'.
Wichita State University is Shocker Nation. We exceed expectations, push boundaries, seize opportunities, and move boldly ahead. We are student-centered and innovation-driven. It's who we are. Our vision is simple but powerful. Create, innovate, collaborate, and celebrate. With one unifying purpose: to shock the world.
Seventh inning stretch on a baseball night, any way you cut it. Warm and windy, and the home team's having all the fun. 8-1 in the Shocker half of the 7th. Taylor Anders is your new pitcher for UCA. Connor Williams went 2 scoreless. And he's the only guy that's been able to say that. He gave up 4 hits, negotiated around those. The Shockers will go Croft, Duga, Boyer. That's the spot in the order where the Shockers will have it here. Speaking of seldom used, Taylor Anders hasn't been out there very often. Appearance number 4 for him, just trying to clean up here and cross his fingers that the Bears offense can get something going, something they haven't done so far. They've mustered just 1 hit off of the combo of Preston Snavely. He's the guy that gave it up. And then Jacob Lindemann, 2 hitless, scoreless innings in his Shocker debut. Croft is 1 out of 3. He really kick-started that 4-run first for Wichita State. Knocked in 2 with a base hit with the bases loaded. And Shockers were off and running. Shockers have out hit the Bears 14-1. Croft would probably lead the American in swings per plate appearance.
He's not up there to walk.
He is not.
He has only walked twice this season in now 40 at-bats. I would say Dayton Dugoff falls into a somewhat similar category. Guys who are looking for their pitch.
He'll get his. Dayton off the bench has gone 2 for 2. Had an infield hit his first time.
Watch Dayton take a 4-pitch walk right after we
Of course.
talked about that.
Anders? Yeah, definitely is.
About right.
Par for the course. Are we just up here to jinx things? Sometimes it.
Well, no, you called something earlier.
That's not a walk.
That's not a walk anyway. Yeah, we're fine.
I almost called the double steal.
Double steal, that was it. Yeah.
I'd rather be walked on 3-0 than hit, but
Off the thigh is probably where you want to take it, especially his thigh.
there's a lot of thigh there.
Yep.
So Dayton will take first base any way he can get it, and another pinch hitter will be called upon here for Wichita State.
Incident for the Shockers.
Big Garrett Kosis.
Garrett Kosis.
Kosis hits for Boyer, who was 2 out of 3. So all the guys that we highlighted at the very top all put out for us, especially in that first inning, 3 out of the 4 of them. Now 5 in a row out of the zone from Anders.
Just good to see Wichita State kind of putting that UConn series to bed. With the way that they played on Friday, I don't think anybody in that locker room, first base dugout was anything close to satisfied. That kind of effort. And they had to feel like they had an opportunity to kind of put themselves right in the thick of the conference race, and now they're a little bit behind the 8 ball.
Well, they came out with the right attitude and right mindset on Sunday, for sure. They got 5 quick ones and then a bunch late. Two away. 2 strikeouts for Anders. Now here's Jackson.
Jackson struck it really well his first time up. Line out right to the right fielder, Presley, who had to retreat just a couple of steps. But Alex in search of his first base hit in a while.
That one's torched to center field. Hahn going back on his horse, and he can't get it. And wouldn't you know it, that's going to cost Alex Jackson an RBI. Dayton Dugas is going to have to go back to third. No matter, that's a good sight to see for Alex Jackson. Hit that ball a ton to center field.
Well, he finally figured out the right part of the park to hit it to. Right field going to be a tough prospect today, but left center, you'll get plenty of help. And that ball was crushed.
I don't think Hahn realized that Jackson hit it that well. Went more toward left center than he did behind him, and that cost him. I don't know if he was going to catch it anyway, but Jackson has hit it right on the button twice. Here's Vickers. $15 hits now for the Shockers to chase their 16 that they had Sunday.
Against a team with a 3.44 ERA earning play today. So this is not a Central Arkansas staff that typically gives up 15 hits in a ball game.
Opponents hit 240 against their staff. Two and two to Trey Vickers. Shockers have led it from the start. And Vickers has had a uncharacteristic tough night at the plate, but Shockers will take an 8-1 lead to the 8th.
Wichita State University is Shocker Nation. We exceed expectations, push boundaries, seize opportunities, and move boldly ahead. We are student-centered and innovation-driven. It's who we are. Our vision is simple but powerful. Create, innovate, collaborate, and celebrate. With one unifying purpose: to shock the world.
Tell us all that.
(8-1) Wichita State into the top half of the 8th inning, and Todd Butler has made plenty of defensive changes as we make our way into the latter stages of this game. Garrett Kosas, who came on as a pinch hitter in the bottom half of the 7th, will take over at first base. Luke Ritter moves from left to second. Alex Jackson will slide from center to left, and Grayson Genesta moves to his more traditional center field in support of Jacob Lindemann.
Nice to have a little versatility now and then, huh?
Plenty of guys who can play plenty of different spots.
Say so. Little popper to the right side. Kosas circled around it but made the catch. I would say the first ball always finds the new guy, but there are quite a few guys in new position. You can only go one, but he is the legitimate new guy. One pitch and one out here in the 8th.
Kosas hasn't been in the field much this year. When he has gotten opportunities, they've been mostly as a pinch hitter. And so one of the few chances he's had to make a play. One pitch, one out for Jacob Lindemann, who has given Wichita State everything they could have asked for and more here in his first appearance as a Shocker.
You cannot imagine what was going through his mind 2 innings ago. And honestly, he may have forgotten by now. There's so much going on in that young man's head, but on the surface, looks like he's right at home. I think Crash Davis put it best. Don't think, just throw. Although Nuke is the one that repeated that. Crash encouraging him not to think it would hurt the ball club, and I don't want to insinuate that Jacob Lindeman thinking that it would hurt the ball club. You've talked about looking the part before.
Yep.
Lindeman falls into that category. He looks the part out there.
Now all is yours, courtesy of Dinger's Roofing and Construction.
He looks like he's been out there before.
Call Dinger's Roofing and Construction, 316-202.
And he doesn't look nervous at all. He looks like he has a rhythm and a presence about him. Gosh, former Wichita State pitching coach Brent Chemnitz used to harp on presence all the time as one of the biggest things that a pitcher can have out there. Presence. An air of confidence about you that everybody in the ballpark can feel. It can be quiet and it can be loud, but as long whatever works for you.
Almost 2 months to the day since the season started. Jacob Lindeman getting his first outing out of the pen. Loses Tyler Smith, so that's the second base runner permitted by Jacob, both bases on balls. Rigo Aguilar is twice grounded out.
Clayton McGinnis is warming down in the Wichita State pen in case Lindeman runs into some more trouble here in the 8th. But the luxury of a 7-run lead is that it affords you some room for error.
Well, Shocker pitchers have issued 7 free passes, and on the surface that's not ideal, but when you talk about hits, walks, and hit by pitches, when that total is 8 in the 8th, you don't really mind how they're doled out. And the one hit didn't leave the infield. It hit the backside of the starter, Preston Snavely, and went right to the shortstop, Vickers.
Now, whip doesn't discriminate.
Right.
Walk and a hit, worthy of the same thing when you break it down like that. And it's hard to string together rallies as an offense when the opposing pitching staff's only giving you 1 base runner in an inning. Your 1 hit better go a long way.
Yeah, when you're hitting 0-43 for the game, 1 for 23, all kinds of free passes won't help you. But Lindeman hoping to get back in the strike zone here. Again, Rigo Aguilar, one of their most dangerous hitters all season long. That's in there, 3-2.
See what Lindeman can come up with here on 3 balls and 2 strikes. All fastballs so far to Aguilar. Probably going to see another one here. How about it?
2 outs. That's Lindeman's first strikeout. And to get Rigo Aguilar, I'm sure Lindeman doesn't realize it now, but after the fact may look back and say, I got a pretty tough customer.
That's a really good hitter to be letting a 3-2 fastball go right down the middle. Credit to Lindeman, that's where you want to throw it in an 8-1 game. Just make sure it's a strike one way or another, but great job to come back from 3-1.
Number 6, Kobe Potvin.
Kobe Potvin will get his initial at bat in the abbreviated 2-game home and home series. 2 away here in the 8th. In there, nothing in 1.
$13 hits and 52 at-bats for Potvin, .250 hitter.
off the end of the bat. It'll be a fairly long run for Dugas, and the Shockers have allowed but one hit through 8 innings here against the Bears.
Wichita State University is preparing today's students to become tomorrow's leaders. The Shock the World campaign is raising $25 million in private funds for a new home for the W. Frank Barton School on the Innovation Campus. Invest today in tomorrow's business leaders by calling 316-978-4076 or visit www.wichita.edu/shocktheworld.
Fifth pitcher of the night for Central Arkansas would be Ross Rogers. 4.95 ERA this season, thanks at least in part to Wichita State 3 weeks ago. Rogers allowed 4 runs in an inning and 2/3, including that home run that Genesta hit down at their place. Genesta with a home run here as part of an 8-1 celebration here this evening. And if you joined us a little late, you missed the first 8 innings of mastery by Preston Snavely and Jacob Lindemann for Wichita State.
Good job, boys.
So Luke Ritter will lead it off.
Leading off the Shocker 8, second baseman, Luke Ritter.
Ritter, Bohm, O'Brien, your scheduled hitters. Shockers have out-hit the Bears 15-1. And this is not a bunch of punch and Judy hitters up there for the Bears. You mentioned it earlier, Denning. They're pretty good hitting club. Hitting 282 coming in.
The Southland in general, just a very offensive conference. Got a lot of teams that can hit the baseball, and so you better be able to swing it if you're going to compete. UCA has built their team kind of tailored to their ballpark, which plays rather small. Year in, year out, they have good offenses, and this year's team is no different. So to hold them to 1 hit and 1 run.
Ritter cut one loose on 2-1. And in the desperate times call for desperate measures camp, Jacob Lindemann pitched for the first time tonight and threw 3 scoreless. And we may see the debut of Paxton Wallace, who came to Wichita State obviously as a dual threat guy. Wallace has hit some this year for Wichita State, but not pitched. That may change in the 9th. Ritter spanks one through the middle, and he's got a 3-hit game. Hit number 16 for Wichita State. They haven't scored since the 4th, but they've had at least 1 hit in every single inning.
And Luke Ritter's just been a multi-hit machine over the last 3 weeks or so. I believe he's into double figures in multi-hit games over this red-hot stretch that he's been on.
Speaking of multi-hit games, Alec Bohm's got 2.
When this lineup gets going right, you got to really search hard for easy outs. It is deep, it's versatile, and it can hurt you just about anywhere.
And not just make you die a slow death. I mean, there's guys in here that can account for a run on one swing, and more guys than just the guy at the plate. Hancock trying to help out Ross Rogers. Rogers is lucky he got that one back. Still 1-2.
Rogers' last work this weekend against Tennessee Martin, and it didn't go well. An inning in the third, 4 hits and 3 runs. So in basically the games in which he's given up a run, in 3 out of the 4, he's given up at least 3 runs. So he's either gotten not hit or hit a lot.
And a howitzer hit right at the shortstop. Unfortunate for Bohm that he hit an atom ball. That's a 6-4-3, and there are 2 away. Even his outs are noisy.
You get the feeling that this game could be a lot more separation than it already is. Genesta with a rocket atom ball double play, Bohm with an atom ball double play, and then Jackson's ground rule double that would have driven in a run. Could very easily be a double-digit whitewashing right now.
Jackson's line out to deep right.
Right.
Hit it anywhere but right at him. That's a hit. O'Brien. This ball may end up in fair territory. It will. And again, Strong fought the temptation to overrun it. So last chance for the Bears as we go to the 9th. Shockers in front.
The ninth inning is brought to you.
Wichita State University is Shocker Nation. We exceed expectations, push boundaries, seize opportunities, and move boldly ahead. We are student-centered and innovation-driven. It's who we are. Our vision is simple but powerful. Create, innovate, collaborate, and celebrate. With one unifying purpose: to shock the world.
To the 9th we go. Snavely goes 5, Lindemann goes 3, and Paxton Wallace trying to make a winner out of Preston Snavely, who you see right there. Earlier this season, back on March the 25th, the Shockers beat Furman 3-1 and gave up 2 hits to the Paladins. 1 run, 2 hits. So far tonight, a UCA team that's got 1 run on 1 hit, an infield single off the leg of Preston Snavely. And here's Paxton Wallace, who again, Denning has made a fair amount of appearances as a hitter, especially near his hometown at Conway, where he went 2 out of 2 with 2 walks and one of those triples you were talking about the other night. But now he gets to pitch. Quite a night for Wichita State all the way around.
Makes you dream a little bit about if Trey Vickers is able to glove that ground ball cleanly on the deflector. That ended up being the lone base hit for Central Arkansas. It was that close to a very special night, but To get 8 innings out of Preston Snavely and Jacob Lindemann and allow just 1 base hit and the 1 unearned run, I don't think Mike Steele or Todd Butler could have pictured that in their wildest dreams.
No chance.
Leading off the UCA.
Also, no chance that the official scorer, Tammy Cutler, could assess an error after the fact on that hit up the middle. You look and search every possible way. You just can't do it. But first things first, Paxton Wallace, his first collegiate pitch is only 94 miles an hour from a lower 3/4 arm angle.
He's been saving this.
I guess so. Will Hancock will be the guy that Paxton Wallace makes his debut against.
Paxton might be better served to throw 92 right now for a strike, and I think that's what Alec Bowman's telling him.
Yeah, same goes for him as Jacob Lindemann. Try however you can to just calm down a little bit.
Little different scenario for Paxton. Like you said, he's been out there a bunch as a hitter, but first appearance on the mound and appears to be a little lamped up. I wonder how long the leash will be for him if he has a hard time commanding the strike zone.
So Hancock's on there. Sanchez, the scheduled hitter. He hit into a 5-4-3 double play his only other time up there. There's Clayton McGinnis warming for the second time.
Shortstop, Eddie Sanchez.
I think we talked about this off air a couple days ago, that it's been a while since Wichita State's had a true two-way player. Willie Schwanke's the one who kind of comes to mind, but his situation is interesting in that he basically was a pitcher, got hurt, could only swing a bat, and became only a position player. I think his first year on campus, he did a little bit of both at the same time, but almost exclusively one or another.
There's a first. 3-pitch strikeout of Sanchez, and that fastball at 94 puts him away. And that was the best pitch that he's thrown so far tonight. That's nasty.
94 with a little something on
Sure.
it, too. That face in the background, the first row, says it all.
Pitching for the Bears, number 3, Dusty Wright.
Dusty Wright will hit for Michael Hahn. So both head coaches having a chance to empty out the bench at least a little bit. From here, the Bears will go to Sam Houston, take on the Bearcats. That'll be a rematch of last year's Southland Conference Tournament final. Shockers, obviously, this weekend back into American play at Houston. Big road series against the Cougars. One and one.
That ball is yours, courtesy of Diggers Roofing and Construction. For all your exterior home needs, call Diggers Roofing and Construction, 316-202-20.
I know Paxton Wallace can swing it quite a bit. He's shown that plenty of different times this year. I have a hard time, though, seeing a coach watch him throw 94 miles an hour and say, yep, that's a third baseman. Normally, a guy has anything close to that kind of an arm. And
Let's see what he's got on the mound,
yeah,
right?
He's a pitcher.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
Well, again, he is not exactly in the same camp as Lindemann, who's strictly a pitcher. Wallace has batting practice, infield practice, all that stuff to worry about. So his bullpens are probably fewer and further between, but and I don't want to call it necessarily a rash of injuries, but there have been a few Shocker pitchers go down lately, so it's more hands on deck anyway, with Lindemann burning the red shirt and now Wallace pitching for the first time himself.
I don't suppose we're about to see a 2-2 breaking ball here from Paxton Wallace.
Speaking of another first, I'd be afraid he'd throw it right over the top of his head. And into center field, the second base hit, the first one to the outfield, and it's now 8-2.
Well, he stuck with the hard stuff, and that one ended up leaking back out over the plate just a little bit. Dusty Wright has had a very good season for Central Arkansas, just didn't get the start tonight, but he was hitting well over 300, and good hitters will take advantage of that even when the fastball's coming in the low 90s.
So 1 in here in the ninth. The only other inning that the Bears scored was the fifth. And Wallace jumps ahead of TJ Black, who's twice grounded out to second. If he does it again, we can all go home. Shockers will move to 25-9. In case you're wondering about the RPI, even though stand by, 6-4. If they hurry, safe at first. But Wallace almost got a game ender. It'll go as a fielder's choice. And now Strong will get one more chance. Shockers came in the 15 range in the RPI. Central Arkansas, in spite of being 22-13, a little bit of a head-scratching 135 with their RPI rather. So when it comes to the RPI, Denning, can't win them all. There are going to be some teams that, quote unquote, won't help you, especially when you play them at home.
You better beat them. That's the bottom line. There's a non-fastball from Paxton Wallace, and I'm not sure if that's what Noah Croft called for, but
can't imagine he was looking for a fastball and would catch anything else. But if that's the case, Noah's got good hand-eye coordination.
But like you were saying, again, not every game is going to make your RPI go up, and so you got to take care of the ones that won't. Get a team in the low 150s coming into your barn. You got to walk out of there with a win.
We joked quite a bit in the early part of the season. What's the surefire way to have a good RPI? What's rule number one?
Win a lot of games.
Win a lot of games.
Rule 2, rarely referenced, is don't lose a lot of games.
But quite important as well.
Or have your bad RPI games get rained out. That's rule 3.
Right. Don't try all that hard to make up those bad RPI postponements.
Or play a non-Division I team and don't have it count.
Pretty quality pitch there on 2-1, and now the Shockers are one strike away from sweeping the season midweek series with the Bears. In the air to center. Genesis got it measured, and the Shockers win it. Wichita State pounds Central Arkansas 8-2 the final. A season low tying 2 hits allowed by the trio of Snavely, Lindemann, and Wallace. Back for more after this.
Introducing Dunkin's new cold brew coffee, steeped slowly in cold water for small batches with an ultra-smooth, full-bodied flavor. Discover the craft of cold brew today and keep on. America runs on Dunkin'.
Wichita State University is Shocker Nation. We exceed expectations, push boundaries, seize opportunities, and move boldly ahead. We are student-centered and innovation-driven. It's who we are. Our vision is simple but powerful. Create, innovate, collaborate, and celebrate. With one unifying purpose: to shock the world.
Snavely got the win. Gavin Stone the loss. No save in the ball game, but really, Denning, you could give a save to Jacob Lindemann, Paxton Wallace, and to a certain degree the winner, Preston Snavely, because the Shockers had 5 games scheduled this week. Here was the first one, and it couldn't have gone much better.
The save is saving the pitching staff for sure. And those 3 guys did an outstanding job. It's hard to figure who among Snavely, Lindemann, and Wallace deserves the tip of the cap the most, but all 3 of those guys delivering outstanding performances. And in the case of Lindemann and Wallace, their first time out there on the mound as Shockers, giving Wichita State an excellent outing. And the offense almost takes second billing with 16 hits and 8 runs.
Isn't that crazy?
Put this one away early with the 4 straight frames in which they scored in the 4 spot in the first.
So Wichita State, 8 runs, 16 hits, 2 errors, 8 left. UCA, 2 runs, 2 hits, 1 error, 8 left. Shockers now 25-9. UCA falls to 22-14. And the homestand ends tomorrow with KU coming to town. For Denny Gehrig, I'm Shane Dennis. Thanks for watching. Shockers win it 8-2. So long from Wichita.